If you're in the market to buy real estate right now, your future self is going to thank you for watching this video. We're going to look at the top 10 places where you should never buy real estate because it's going to affect your capital growth in a negative way. Number one, large transmission towers. Did you know that these towers can make crackling sounds in the wet? They're visually an eyesore, and I just have a general rule: when I'm buying property for any clients, you want to make sure they are completely out of sight. They stretch across the whole state, and they're fine to have on a piece of farmland, but when they're sitting in someone's backyard or within visual sight, you'll find that the cheapest real estate in any suburb will have these power lines in the backyard. They potentially could be a health hazard, who knows? But typically they're just an eyesore. It's like a big commercial structure sitting in a residential zone. It just doesn't belong. Residential commission towers. Now, there's a natural stigma from every buyer when it comes to buying property within sight of these buildings. But did you know that sometimes a bank can actually give a failed valuation or a lower valuation if you're buying property within direct sight of these towers? Banks remind me of one of those friends that you have that are scared of doing anything new or risky. You want to make sure that you cover your bases if you're relying on a bank for finance, particularly if it's a large amount of money, and buying in and around these kinds of properties are definitely a factor that you want to avoid. Number three, highways. Self-explanatory. You've got noise pollution, the quality of the air concerns, vibrations and dust in the area. It's just something to stay right away from. Train stations. Now, being too close to a train station has the obvious noise issues that can come along with big diesel trains and just long hours of trains going back and forward. The sound of the boom gates can be really annoying as well and can be heard from right around the area. There's also higher crime rates in the immediate vicinity of train stations, just from people loitering around the area. Factories and commercial zones. Did you know some of the biggest fires in a city come from these zones? And there's the potential for land contamination risk as well. Visually, they're not appealing, and I just don't think they belong in and around residential real estate. Farmland. Now, farmers can use chemical sprays. There's the dust factor, flies. Some really bad smells can come out of growing different types of vegetables. It's just something that's not very appealing. There's also the factor of the land potentially being purchased by a developer and them turning them into housing estates. You don't want your property to be competing against future housing estates. Potentially your capital growth could be affected for decades. Low socioeconomic suburbs. They usually have lower quality housing. Lower quality housing usually means higher vacancy rates, higher vacant time on market, which increases your holding costs, your leasing costs, having less amenities in these areas and less infrastructure, and also higher crime rates as well. Floodways disguised as parks. Now, sometimes visually you'll never notice this. You'll see a kid's playground in a lower part of an area, and you really wouldn't know until you actually look at the plans, the water catchment plans, and see that it's a floodway. The risk of buying property in these areas is that property could get rezoned to a flood zone, which can increase insurance costs. There's also the factor of the potential 100-year flood that always comes through every number of years, and you've purchased a property sitting in a flood zone. So if something ever goes wrong, or the drains aren't well maintained, or if there is some sort of freak of nature blockage that happens, your property is right in its path. The last one is going to be the last piece of real estate anyone ever purchases. And unfortunately, it's a cemetery. You can argue that, hey, they're going to be quiet neighbors and, you're not going to get any complaints coming out of there or traffic or anything like that. But look, all jokes aside, the factors probably more of a religious factor around some buyers. Some buyers have a superstition, beliefs around buying around cemeteries. Whatever it is, if you kind of look at the numbers, cemeteries will always have cheaper real estate in and around the immediate visual side of these areas, and it's not really great to buy property in these zones.